Hey Spartans, welcome back to Tyrant's Halo Infinite Legendary Walkthrough. You know the drill, no saves and no deaths. We are up to mission 6, Conservatory. And from what I hear, you have a new enemy, the Skimmers. They sound kind of cute though.
No, they fire beams of death at your face.
So not cute.
No, and they fly, and that's worse.
Are they fuzzy?
They're icky.
Oh, well good luck Spartans.
What's up everyone, it's the Tyrant here, and welcome back to my Halo Infinite Legendary Walkthrough, no saves, no deaths. Today we are on Mission 6, Conservatory. Much like Excavation Site, I'm not really a huge fan of this mission. I'll go into a little bit more detail about that as to why later here, when we have a little bit more downtime. But yeah, Excavation Site and Conservatory, the basic reason is essentially because there's an abundance of sniper-based enemies combined with berserker brutes. So two very different types of combat that are usually in the same battle. Kind of like fighting the Covenant and the Flood at one time, only instead of them also fighting each other, they're all against you. So again, I'll go into a little bit more detail later. For now, again, as our secondary weapon, we are using the Scorpion gun, aka the tank gun, and our primary weapon is the battle rifle. There are no battle rifles in this mission, but you can get one from the previous mission, and of course now the selectable missions are a thing. You can just revert to a mission that has one on easy and then come back to this one on legendary with the battle rifle. So you're going to have two brutes here. They're shielded. I think they're captains. Go ahead and just wipe them both out. They have shotguns. You have an ballistic ammo refill station right here. So it doesn't matter how much ammo you have. You should be good to go. Just refill. And we're going to enter this first area right here. So go ahead and just skip these guys. You can grapple right through this place right here. You can technically do this with the other U-shaped room too that we're going to come up here shortly on. So this is the first big room that you have to deal with. You'll have two elites, one on each side. I would recommend going ahead and taking them out with the tank gun. And then you've got, got that one jackal with the mangler, and then from here on out it's just grunts and jackals. So I go ahead and just typically use the battle rifle for them. If you start running low on battle rifle ammo, there are no ballistic refill stations in this room. So what I would recommend is before you actually get to empty on your battle rifle, because you don't want to lose it, you want to be able to pick it back up. If you start running low, do what I did here and just grab a pulse carbine, or you can grab the mangler from that jackal that we took out over there. And there's plenty of ammo for the pulse carbine, so you shouldn't have any issue here. But you don't have to worry about that at all. Also, nice helpful tip, if you are, opting to not use the tank gun for whatever reason, that's completely fine. You can instead, as your secondary weapon, use the pulse carbine. It is very effective against shielded enemies. Again, it's kind of like the needler and a ballistic weapon and a plasma weapon all rolled into one. It's effective against shields. It homes in on enemies. And it also is headshot capable, unlike other plasma weapons. So it is fairly useful. So one of the things I like to do here, just simply because there aren't a lot of ballistic refill stations in this mission, occasionally I will drop the battle rifle for another weapon just temporarily and then pick it back up later. But again, you don't want to wait until you're completely out of ammo. Otherwise, you will not be able to pick the weapon back up. So as you can see, I have plenty of ammo here. We're going to need that a little bit further down the road. Now you have to get this power seed right here. We're going to put it in the slot. That will activate the door. And then we're going to head to this next area. So again, you have the option to grapple up to this area over here on the left-hand side. It does tend to be a little bit picky just because it's a bit higher up than the previous area. You're not automatically at an elevated level like you were in the last U-shaped room. So one thing that you can do is you can stay at the bottom here. The only reason that I'd recommend this or trying to grapple over it is simply because you do have a guy, a sniper at the top level over there. He can be a bit of a pain. So I do try to take these guys out. You can, if you're very quick, you're very skilled, you can go ahead and just grapple over it. But there is a break right there where you saw that skirmisher. You can just slide right on in there and then just grapple to the elevated platform above it on the left-hand side and go right to the door and ignore the rest of the enemies. No issue. So this room tends to be a little bit more complicated. You've got 3 jackal stalkers or stalker jackals in this room, one in the center and then one on either side. You want to make the center one and the one on the far right your top priority. You also have 2 shielded brutes that you need to worry about as well. I'd go ahead and use the tank gun against them, since the battle rifle really isn't that effective against shielded enemies on Legendary. So there's going to be one more jackal over here. You're going to have a couple of enemies that'll typically come up that ramp right there. Usually a brute miner, and then sometimes some grunts and a skirmisher. So just kind of hang back and keep an eye on your radar. And that poor skirmisher took a bullet, well, I should say took a tank shell for his brute buddy over there. So we have one brute miner over here. Just going to see if he's going to come up here. Okay, yep, and we've got a turret over there as well. It's manned by a brute. Go ahead and use the scorpion gun against him. And once you have the other brute down, as long as the 2 shielded brutes are down, as well as the stalker jackal, or stalker jackals, I should say. There's 3 of them. Then the rest of the room is pretty straightforward. It's just, again, grunts and jackals, just standard shielded jackals, and that's it. If you want to, again, put down the battle rifle in favor of another weapon like the pulse carbine or the stalker rifle, you certainly can. I am terrible with any sniper weapons personally, but I know a lot of you out there are much better at this than I am. You're more coordinated. So if you're great with sniper weapons, the stalker rifle is a great weapon to sort of pick up in place of the battle rifle if you were trying to conserve ammunition. But again, you also have the pulse carbine as an option too, if you are not already carrying it anyway. So in this room, just to sort of spell this out for you a little bit, you actually have to plant 2 power seeds instead of 1. Now, typically the way this works is each time you plant a power seed, another wave of enemies will arrive. I'm going to show you a little trick to get around that. Essentially, you want to place both power seeds at the same time. So instead of planting this one and then trying to retrieve the other one, because you're going to get berserker brutes, you're going to get a bunch of other enemies, that's no fun. Just put it down in front of the insert station right there, and then go ahead and grab the other one. Now, it depends on which direction you favor the most. I'm going to tell you right now, I prefer to plant the one, if you're facing the back of the room, or where you're going anyway, I would recommend personally going to this one over here first, just because it feels better for me. If you prefer the other way, it's fine, but once you plant that one, quickly grapple back over here, take the other power seed, plant it in there. We're getting enemies coming out real quick. Just grapple through here real quick. They will not follow you through, and boom, there's that room in a nutshell. You don't have to worry about fighting multiple waves of enemies, just the ones that are initially in the room if you take that route. And so now we are going to introduce ourselves to Despondent Pyre. So, as I said, I would explain a little bit earlier why I'm not a huge fan of this mission. Sort of like Excavation Site, I'm a bit more liberal with the tank gun / scorpion gun here, just simply because I feel like the enemies are a bit more imbalanced. Whenever you have sniper enemies combined with up-close enemies like berserker brutes, you have to change your tactics on the fly, which I don't think is very Halo, in my opinion. I'm not sure this was play tested very well, at least for these 2 missions. The rest of them are fine. I enjoy them quite a bit, but in terms of having to do with snipers in close range, it's like dealing with jackal snipers in Halo 2, but also dealing with Flood at the same time. And they're not against each other, they're all against you, and that's sort of what this feels like. These are really the only 2 missions that do it to this extent. With the previous mission, we saw it after we activated deactivated, I should say, the drill, and here we see it more with the skimmer room. So this is the first corridor right here. You can speed run through this area fairly effectively if you go through the outer edges. You see that little corridor back there on the right-hand side? You can actually just grapple past all the enemies but it's a little bit more difficult on legendary. You do tend to take a bit more damage. Some of the enemies are hard to place because they can spawn in different places, or at least be in different places when you encounter them. So I'd recommend just sort of taking them out. You can also use this upper ledge here as well. I'd recommend staying up here just because it gives you a better line of sight of your enemies. And this first corridor is not that difficult. You do have a ballistic refill station on the other side, which is going to really come in handy. The battle rifle, again, is highly effective here. Just the only thing you need to worry about are any shielded enemies. So that's pretty much just elites for these first two. And then you're going to deal with shielded brutes later. So just, kind of sit back and take them out. There should be one shielded elite down further towards the end. Just a regular miner. It's not a big deal. And then in the next room, there's actually going to be, I think, a general. And he's a bit trickier. But yeah, so over here, we're going to go ahead and deal with this skirmisher. There's your ballistic refill station right over there. Well, meant to jump up there. Might as well just go this way now. And just keep an eye out on your radar. Now, a lot of people, there's the elite. So we're going to go ahead and just take him out real quick. All right, that did the trick. Again, just keep it on your radar. We can see there's an enemy over here. It's just a grunt, no big deal. Probably a couple of other enemies back there too. Go ahead and refill your battle rifle because we're not coming back here anyway. And we're just going to keep going. And so now we're going to go against another corridor-shaped area here. You're going to have some brutes to tangle with as well. Or you have a couple more elites. We'll start with that. So we got two shielded elites that are going to pop out over here on the right-hand side. I think the brutes are actually in the next one. So, yep. We see one of them over there. I think we may have got... Ooh! You got to be careful because the scorpion gun does shoot at your feet. So, sometimes you have to jump a little bit to actually get it to do what you want it to do. Alright, so that takes care of the elites right there. And there's going to be one shielded elite over at the far end. Oh, there's another miner over there too. So just kind of an FYI with higher ranking elites, if you take too many shots at them, they'll get irritated and they'll pull out their sword and they'll cloak themselves. So we want to get these guys down as quickly as possible. If they do happen to cloak, you do have your threat sensor. You should at this point have it upgraded to level 2. Per what we did for Chalklock in Mission 4. And we just have a few jackals here to clean up. But again, just keep an eye out for your radar because you do have those side rooms over there where enemies can sort of like overwhelm you. And I think we already got the elites, so we're good. Okay, so down here, you're going to encounter two special ops elites, two cloaked elites. And you can technically grapple past them before the door closes. That's fine, but then they're going to chase you through the underlevel. So go ahead and just use the tank gun and take them both out at once. Again, if you're not using the tank gun and you're using maybe the pulse carbine instead, you can use your threat sensor to determine where they are and take them out from there. But again, you can also theoretically you can just grapple straight past them. But they will chase you once you're down here. So if you're not speed running, they're going to eventually catch up to you. So this is where the brutes show up. As you can see, there was one shielded one there right at the beginning. You're going to have another one on the turret further up. This one you can't really speed run quite as effectively. The one that you really need to worry about, though, is the captain with the rocket launcher. He is at the end of this area. And then once you've tackled this corridor right here, you're pretty much good to go until you get to the skirmisher, or not the skirmisher room, the skimmers. I'm going to get those two mixed up so much in this walkthrough. I am so sorry. But again, just keep an eye on your radar. We got one little hider right there. There we go. And just kind of hold back. There is another ballistic refill station towards the end of this corridor, so you shouldn't have to worry about ammunition here. And of course, there is another one in the skimmer's room. So you shouldn't have a lot to worry about. But yes, the battle rifle in this game is very effective. One thing that I don't think I've pointed out in previous walkthroughs is if you look at the ammo counter down there on the right-hand side, when your reserve ammo is full, you actually have double the amount of ammo that you've traditionally had in previous Halo titles for the battle rifle. So usually it's 108 reserve that you can have. It's 216 in Halo Infinite, at least for the standard battle rifle, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to just go ahead and take these guys out. Don't have to worry about them. You can, again, speed run through this area. I actually did this for my full campaign and cutscenes video, which was on Heroic. So you can just grapple through this area, but it does take a bit of luck. We're going to go ahead and take out that turret guy right there. You can probably see the ballistics crate right over there. And so we're just going to mow down these guys real quick. Go ahead and grab your... Sorry, it's that's an addiction right there. And go ahead and reserve or grab more ammo from the ammo crate right there. When you go back, you'll usually be able to refill maybe about an additional 30 bullets before the ammo reserve or the ammo crate is empty. But this is the area you sort of have to worry about because this is where the rocket launcher dude is. So he's pretty much guarding the exit. Just be aware that he's there. It's very rare that he'll take you out in one shot, but there he is. He's got a shield, so you got to be really careful with that guy. And then we're going to have another brute miner, and then we have a skirmisher and a jackal up top. So we just need to take these guys out, and we should be good. Again, once you've dealt with the major enemies, you can theoretically just grapple through here. It depends on how safe you want to play it. I'm trying to use the battle rifle here as much as possible versus the scorpion gun because, again, I know some of you aren't fans of the fact that I'm using it, but it is a weapon that's very easy to acquire, especially now that you can go back to Outpost Harmonious whenever you want to and just pick it up in case you drop it by accident or in case you forgot the first time around. So it's not like it was before where if you got to, say, Mission 5 and then you started looking at my guides and then you're like, well, heck, I didn't pick up the tank gun before. What am I supposed to do now? Well, now you can. So there's no reason why you can't other than just, you want it to be a bit more of a challenge, which, I wouldn't be looking at a guide if you want it to be a challenge anyway. But to each their own, right? Okay, so now that all the enemies are down, we can go ahead and proceed forward to the Skimmer's room. This room I do find a bit quite frustrating. There's very limited cover. It's there, but it's limited, and you got to be very careful here. The Skimmers, I actually do appreciate far more than the drones that we saw in previous Halo games. The thing of it is, they gave them sniper weapons, which is pretty much what the shock rifle is to at least you, the player, on Legendary. In combination with that, you also have to deal with a couple of Berserker Brutes at the same time. So it's very difficult to coordinate this battle without the Scorpion gun. It can be done, don't get me wrong. I did this in my full campaign and cutscene video, but it's, it's just infinitely, no pun intended, more frustrating. So we're going to go ahead and grapple down here real quick. And a cutscene is going to play as soon as Despondent Pyre stops screaming. And she's still screaming even though she is in pieces now. Just to give sort of a layout of the area right here, the ballistics refill station is on the top level, and you have a couple of energy refill stations on the bottom. So you can hang here in one of these underpasses if you want to. It just depends on where you feel the most safe. Or you can fight in front of one of the doors. One of the methods that I like here is once the doors start to open and the banners start coming through, I'd recommend hiding in there. The only issue is you're not going to have any cover if the skimmers close in on your location, so you do have to be very quick to take them out. But aside from that, it's the best place to be because you don't have to worry about being flanked from different directions. Even if you hide under one of the platforms here that has the plasma refill stations, there's still multiple places that you can be attacked from the skimmers, and that's no fun. And I've been in positions before where I'm getting dogged by skimmers on one side, and then a berserker brute jumps down, and I'm just panicking to try to get this guy off my tail. So basically, once you take out that first wave of enemies from the banished, it's usually good just to sort of hide in there and just keep an eye out on your radar for the skimmers. And you can use either the battle rifle, or if you've got the pulse carbine, you can use that. But again, like I said before, I'm a bit more liberal with the tank gun in this particular mission, like I was with excavation site. So once Cortana is done, you're going to see 3 skimmers drop down from the sky. It's actually going to be 2 waves of them. I think there's like 6 that you start out with. So just be very quick to get into cover, because even though one shot from the shock rifle really won't do much to you, they typically coordinate, much like the Stalker Jackals do, or at least what they did in the previous mission, where I was constantly getting tagged by them. So go ahead and just sort of hang back. We're going to go up here and get a better vantage point real quick. Just make sure you've got plenty of cover. This little pillar right here is a good way to sort of just give you a little bit of cover between you and them. So yeah, immediately after the first 3 spawn, another few will spawn right behind them. Just be careful. They do tend to hesitate a bit more if you get up in their face in terms of shooting the shock rifle, so that's one thing to consider. But yeah, there's also a lot of splash damage here with the tank gun, so, and it does not hurt you, the player. So now that the door is open, we're going to go ahead and just kind of hide in here. And again, just keep an eye on your radar. And there's that other Berserker Brute. So 2 of them actually emerge from this wave. And you saw that first one right there. The other emerges from the other door. And so again, just keep an eye out on your radar. It only takes 1 burst to as long as it's a direct headshot to kill a skimmer with the battle rifle. But again, they do kind of tend to zip around a little bit, not as drastically as the drones used to. And I do think in terms of having aerial support units, these are definitely better than drones. But of course, they gave them sniper-esque weapons, which I can't stand. Needlers, plasma pistol, plasma rifle, if they actually had them in the game, would work pretty well. I'd even take a freaking, pulse carbine over a shock rifle. But it is what it is. So that's okay. But fortunately, we don't encounter them in a lot of closed-in spaces too much in this game, other than this one area right here. Usually they're out in the open a bit more. And there aren't quite so many of them as well. But yeah, just sort of keep an eye out, because they do tend to coordinate their shots together. So if your shield goes down, just kind of jerked a little bit too far to the left there. There we go. And here's our last guy here. I should be able to get him. And then, where is he? Come on, buddy. I see you on my radar. And I can tell you're hiding, because you know you're going to lose. There he is. Alright. And then you're going to have this wave of enemies over here. So again, just sort of hang back a little bit. And it's going to include some skimmers and some more banished. And so again, if you want to use the tank gun here, you can. If you want to pick them off with the battle rifle, you can do that as well. Oh, okay, there we go. That was a close one. Alright, and so once that door with that final wave of enemies comes in, once you take them out, you're good to go. At this point, you can grab the weapon. You can go ahead and refill your ammo here if you'd like. There's only a few more enemies left. I know there's a Brute Miner, I believe, and then there's a Brute with a Ravager. And then there's 2, I'm guessing they're Brute Chieftains, because they're extremely difficult to kill, far more than any of the captains I've had to deal with. But they have some sort of flat cannon. It's a support weapon, essentially. I forget the exact name of it, but it's, or shrapnel cannon or something like that. Scrap cannon. I knew I was close. Scrap cannon. So we have one more piece of equipment to pick up. At this point, you have everything except for the thruster pack. As you can see, we have not used the drop wall yet. Most of what you're going to use here is pretty much the grapple shot. And we're going to go ahead, and there should be 1 Brute around this corner. Oh, before, it's going to be right after we pick up the thruster pack. Or thruster core, I should say. Now, the thruster core is nice because once it's fully upgraded, it actually camos you for about 4 seconds when it's activated. And of course, you get 2 charges of it as well. And if using the bandana skull, you can use it as much as you want to. So you can technically, basically speed run through the rest of the game invisible. as long as you keep using the thruster pack. Personally, I like the versatility of the grapple shot a bit more, but to each their own. If you're a speedrunner, this is a great core for you. Okay, so the Brute Miner should be on this side. Yep. There he is. And then you're going to have a Brute with a Ravager. It's going to be right up ahead. So get your tank gun ready. He does have a shield. No, he does not have a shield. He has a jetpack. Whoops. It's the other two guys. Oh, he's just... hey, buddy. You just hanging out there? Got your leg stuck? Yeah, sorry, man. It's that old Forerunner tech, I'm telling you. But yeah, so you got the Brutes with the scrap cannons right here. These guys are tough. I think they are chieftains just because when I was trying to even take these out on normal and heroic, it was very difficult. Even once you get their shields down, it's a bit of work. So I definitely recommend using the Scorpion gun here. If you're not using the Scorpion gun, again, you might want to consider using the rocket launcher from the area right before the skimmers. The pulse carbine, again, is another way to use the shield there to lower their shield, so that's an option too. But yeah, that should take care. Yep, I was right, scrap cannon. I don't really use it in my walkthrough, so that's why the name escaped me for a minute. But yeah, once those guys are down, all you have to do is activate this, and it'll activate the platform, take you back to the surface, and then we'll start with the next mission. So that was Conservatory on Legendary, no saves, no deaths. I hope this walkthrough was very useful to you, and I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy day to sit down and watch this video. I do hope you enjoyed it and that you found it beneficial. And thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful week. I'll catch you all right back here next time, and as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.